car manufacturer launches a completely newly designed model on the market today, it usually drives purely electrically. The Mazda CX-60 is different. Based on the new large platform, engines with up to 6 cylinders, sorted in a row, are installed lengthways and the drive is provided via the rear wheels or via all four wheels. The Mazda CX-60 e-Sky Active plug-in hybrid is the first model that is available and according to Mazda Deutschland has already been ordered more than 5,000 times in Germany. The middle-class SUV appears self-confident. Quite characteristic is the long hood and the beefy front, which appears even more monumental due to the comparatively small headlights. At first, it may seem not very harmonic, but in fact, this structure is even advantageous for pedestrian protection. The CX-60 is an impressive debut for Mazda in the premium SUV market. Its stylish exterior look and quality feel throughout the cabin mean it should appeal to buyers in this ultra-competitive sector, while its efficient plug-in hybrid powertrain and large practical boot space should fit the bill for family life too. The CX-60 certainly has a solid breadth of ability that enables it to compete with all the German rivals as well with the Lexus and Hyundai Kia models. The relevance of the diesel-powered versions remains questionable, but the CX-60 is keenly priced and deserves consideration. Let's take a closer look. A look under the hood of the plug-in hybrid reveals Mazda's new large platform because the four-cylinder sits lengthways on its mounts, which is untypical for the brand and is installed deep in the engine bay, takes up so little space that the steering gear, including the servo unit mounted on it, is exposed presumably even the straight-six diesel engine will mistake its living room for the presidential suite. The wheel scales confirm a correspondingly advantageous weight distribution. Only 50.5% of the 2,107 kilograms are on the front axle. 176 kilograms of the four-wheeler go to the account of the 17.8 kilowatt-hour battery pack, which leaves rooms for the drive shaft via a recess on the underbody. The power storage completes a complete charging process of an 11 kilowatt wall box in just under 2.5 hours. It charges in two phases and with a maximum of 70.2 kilowatt. It enables an electric range of 70 kilometers in summer temperatures, which is even slightly above the specification of the WLTP cycle. The hybrid system of the CX-60 consists of a four-cylinder 2.5-liter naturally aspirated petrol engine with 191 horsepower and a maximum of 261 Nm of torque, and an electric motor with 175 horsepower and 270 Nm of torque. The system power is in total 327 horsepower and with 500 Nm of torque. These nice exhaust tips are of course fake and they are just design helpers. If someone look down under there, we see only a small pipe, the end of the four-cylinder engine. Something which we got to say is that Mazda in this model has gone away from the torsion beam rear axle, which is installed on their smaller models, for cost reasons obviously, and here they do install a reasonable multi-link rear axle, which is proper to the character of this middle-sized SUV. More about the suspension later. The Mazda CX-60 has a very good interior quality with very well assembled components, which are also very well fitted together. Everything looks and feels upscaled. This interior quality can easily compete with the best Japanese brand, the Lexus. Nothing rattles or crackles and feels great. The interior is a very pleasant place to be with its appealing design, fine materials and attention to detail. The upper areas of the dashboard and door panels, front and rear, are foamed. The surfaces are pleasant to touch and look elegant. Large hard plastic surfaces are avoided. Overall, there is a high quality impression in the CX-60. The seats are electrically adjusted and offer many setting options. Also electrically adjusted becomes the steering wheel. Practically, all buttons and controls in the interior are illuminated. Only the gauges of ventilation nozzles lack illumination. The electric powered windows unfortunately cannot have that remote control to open or close them, the anti-trap protection on all windows. The cockpit is pleasantly designed and all the important functions can be controlled largely intuitively with the help of the clearly arranged control elements. However, if you want to make special settings, you have to use the infotainment system. It requires getting used to it, despite the fairly clear menu structure. You navigate irreverently through the numerous menus. The one that is a bit deep and placed under the monitor is suboptimal arrangement of the at least clearly designed climate control panel. The instrument cluster is clearly arranged. It consists entirely of a monitor and can provide a lot of information, but also analog instruments displays, speed, tank or charge levels, or the engine and battery temperatures. The fully fledged head-up display with information projected into the windscreen in front of the driver is large and shows many practical information, and fortunately is even standard in all versions, at least here in Germany. Only deserves criticism the rather sparsely equipped onboard computer which don't inform about the journey time and the average speed. Mazda theoretically offers a current and an average consumption display for petrol and electricity, which is very commendable. However, the electronics fall practically in the correct calculation of the average power consumption and usually does not match the actual consumption. A software update should remedy this. Apart from that, Mazda does offer many other ads about the hybrid system and numerous setting options which are not to be found in many competitors. The central display is fortunately not burdened with controls for the climate system which are separated out further down to the center console. The one that is a bit deep and placed under the monitor is the suboptimal arrangement of the at least clearly designed climate control panel. Very easy to reach is the rotary connect commander push button with which the infotainment system is controlled, so you can quickly surf through the menus supported by the direct dial buttons around the rotary knob. The selector lever is conveniently located and has a handy shape, but the alley just needs some time to get used to it because if the lever snaps in the perspective position or if you switch off the engine without first put it in the park position, you have before the next vehicle starts first to bring it back into the parking position. Those who might be nervous about maneuvering a large SUV like this through congested city streets or feel more off-road, the CX-60 can get optional a 360 view camera system which includes a clever front view camera that helps you in tight spaces. This left-hand wheel spoke info button changes the display in the center of the right-hand dial between MRG and miles per kilowatt hours, consumption, engine, temperature, and eye-active sense drive assist status. This instrument screen is also supplemented by a standard head-up display that's 3 times larger than that used on Mazda smaller cars. Anything else you need to know can be found on the Master Connect Center infotainment screen, the largest Mazda's ever offered. This screen offers a colorful Welcome Startup display, after which the two virtual dials change in color with My Drive mode selection and the left-hand gauge being a power meter rather than a rev counter in this plug-in model. We mentioned the screen tech, which isn't as in your face as it usually is with expensive new cars nowadays, and it's mainly because the 12.3-inch center display is long and narrow, and the only thing you can do is to prioritize an eye-active sense drive assist screen layout, and you certainly cannot have the full screen mapping layer option that plenty of rivals provide instead. We mentioned the exemplary ergonomics earlier, and that facial recognition system, which takes account of an input height, then uses a camera in the center display to identify the position of your eye. Remembers not only your personal preferences, but also adjust seat and steering wheel, but also the mirrors the angle of the head-up display and the sound and the climate control. Alongside the main screen, the CX60 also has digital instruments which are bright and customizable, presenting all of the necessary info clearly while wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity is standard. On the center console, there are two cup holders, appropriately sized door compartments, and a storage compartment in the center armrest with two USB ports and one in the center console. The glove compartment is not particularly large, but it is illuminated and lined with fine felt. There are no central lights on the front, but Mazda has accommodated only reading LED lights on the rear of the car, but there is a quite useful sunglasses case for the driver. All doors will securely held open in three positions. The rear doors open practically at a 90 degrees angle. Above all doors, there are grab handles on the headliner and the seat height above the road is 62 centimeters. However, the sill is quite high, so your legs must really get raised. After all, the sill height is low inside, which makes it easier to get out. The rear seats fold lengthwise, not move. Only the inclination of the backrest can be adjusted in two positions. Even the second row is anything but cramped. The space in the CX60 is generous. Up to 1.90 m tall passengers will find sufficient headroom, and the legroom, on the other hand, is also sufficient for passengers who are 1.95 m tall, even if the front seats are set back for taller passengers. The good feeling of space is due to the flat center tunnel hardly affected. At the rear, the Mazda has door compartments with bottle holders and cup holders in the center armrest. There are closed backrest pockets behind the front seat. There is an electric drive for the tailgate, even for the tested top variant, only at an additional cost. Then the opening height can also be adjusted of the overhanging lap. Is the tailgate hole open, you can go under it only if you are about 185 high. Otherwise, you better be careful to don't hit your head. The luggage compartment cover widens from the opening tailgate upwards and therefore does not stay closed when the door opens or closes. A simple and effective solution, quite without a complex separate electric drive. The trunk opening is high and wide enough. The cargo space therefore usable. The loading sill is about 74 centimeters from the ground, so luggage must be raised so far. No level disturbs inside, loading sill and trunk floor are practically at the same level, and when the rear seat is folded down, there is a small step in the area of the backrest. The luggage room is lighted by two lamps, one on the side and one in the tailgate, and for an extra charge the CX60 plug-in brings a 230 volt socket in the trunk that can output up to 1500 watts, fed from the high voltage battery in the vehicle floor. The rear seat backrest can be folded in three parts. The folding works easily and smoothly. Headrest or seat belts must not get removed or unhooked. The unlocking can be done both from the back seat and be done from the trunk. On the left, there is a net which can keep items secure from flying around. Let's take the CX-60 for a ride to see how it rides. Mazda has introduced an all-new platform and engine range for the CX-60, while the mid-size SUV is the first of the Japanese manufacturer's models to feature a plug-in hybrid option. This plug-in employs a 175 horsepower electric engine and a 17.8 kWh battery for a combined power output of 327 horsepower and a healthy 500 Nm of torque. The CX-60 also benefits from all-wheel drive, although Mazda states its layout is rear-biased, hinting at a sportier drive. A suggestion of sportiness is all you get, however, because while the CX-60 handles well enough compared with some of its premium rivals, the plug-in model doesn't offer the same driving dynamics we have come to expect from a Mazda model. With a curb weight of almost 2 tons, it feels a little compromised and isn't that great to drive. The all-wheel drive avoids wheel spin when accelerating hard, and especially since the rear-heavy design of the power distribution benefits traction anyway. The Mazda CX-60 has a lightweight rear end, which is rather more dynamic than the boring tag security fanatics would like. If you drive briskly through the streets and turn in strongly, the Mazda follows well at first the steering angle, but lets its rear and slowly but firmly pull out. Then counter-steering is required so that the desired course can be held. The behavior is not particularly confidence-inspiring because the ESP rather tentatively steps in. However, the indicated rotation takes place comparatively slow, allowing enough time to react, and counter-steering remains. The reserved ESP also has its advantages when driving dynamically because the pretty large Mazda can be shot precisely through the streets and loses a little speed. The electric power steering installed in the Mazda CX-60 feels heavy and seems a bit decoupled. It is not very precise, but is accurate enough, although it needs 3.3 turns from key to key. It is comfortable on long journeys because it's not nervous and offers an adequate feedback at high speeds. Mazda is now installing a new 8-speed automatic transmission, basically like a classic automatic with torque converters and planetary gear sets, as well multi-plate clutches built in. But it does not use any hydraulic converter, but one integrated into the transmission, multi-disc wet clutch. That helps the efficiency and offers a more compact design. In any case, the power transmission feels very direct, similar to a manual transmission or a double clutch. In addition, the electric motor works on the input shaft. The interaction of the clutches and engines are quite complex, and seems that Mazda test cars from the very early production has not yet have everything under control, because you can feel again and again the switching processes and the switching on and off the drives. Sometimes a coupling process is also acoustic, underlined harshly. Fine-tuning is still needed here, but certainly through a software update which is already in preparation. Also are shift paddles on the steering wheel, which can be used through the 8 gears. But this is rarely necessary because the electronics of the transmission usually selects quite accurately, even in the sport mode, the right gear always. The speed jumps between the 8 gears are right small. The gradation fits the performance characteristics of the engine. The recuperation power can be set on the onboard menu only. This is not directly on the gear selector lever possible. The automatic has a well-dosed scroll function, which is particularly useful when maneuvering slowly, and an auto-hold function is standard. The braking feel is perfect in everyday use. That interaction between recuperation delay and the effect of the mechanical brakes, Mazda engineers have managed very well. You actually cannot feel the transition between these processes. Response and dosing are impeccable. The electric motor takes over moderate braking as a generator, and when the CX-60 must stop as quickly as possible, it needs an average of just 34 meters. This is a very good result for such a big and heavy car. The braking performance does not decrease even under high loads. In the highest equipment trim Takumi, the safety equipment very comprehensive, although also not complete yet. The driver assistance package led Mazda to pay it extra, which is a pity if you think that this Mazda it isn't quite cheap. Only with the extra package is the protection then really all-encompassing, because additional the CX-60 receives matrix LED lights, the emergency brake assistant for traffic behind, and the adaptive cruise control. Of course, an extended speed limit assist. Always there are a full head-up display, an emergency brake assistant in front, the lane departure warning system with steering assistance, the lane change assistant, the exit warning, drowsiness detection, and the traffic sight recognition. The speed limiter can set the allowed one at the push of a button. Maximum speed from traffic sight recognition. The optional adaptive cruise control works up at 200 km an hour. A traffic jam assistant is also available on request. It is always on board directly via sensors in the tires measuring tire pressure control. The Euro NCAP test gives the Mazda CX-60 a good rating occupant protection with 88% of the possible points. All in all, it gets the full 5 stars. Front and side airbags in front, an e-airbag for the driver as well as head airbags that extend over the entire side of the vehicle are on board. Also series are a center airbag between the 2 front seats and rear side airbags. The headrests in the front are sufficient for people who are 195 meters tall. At the back, you are protected up if you are up to weight of 175, whereby for taller people the headliner can also provide some supportability. Can, in other words, reduce the risk of whiplash. After an accident, the Mazda can do this independently via the integrated SIM card. Make an emergency call. The partition net for the trunk is standard. It can be behind the rear seats or behind the front seats are mounted. With the plug-in hybrids is such a thing that the complex drive technology makes sense only under certain operating conditions. The plug-in hybrid achieves its advantages when the battery is fully charged and can be driven so much as possible pure electric. Who often drives long distances and have few charging options should consider better a diesel in the CX-60. Another positive for the CX-60 is that it can use a two-phase wall box with only 16 amperes per phase up to 7.2 kilowatts loading. This is how you can fully recharge the empty battery in about 2 hours and 20 minutes. If you start with fully charged battery, are around 70 kilometers of range to be done according Mazda before the combustion engine switches on. If you drive in hybrid mode, battery empty or charge is held, the resulting fuel consumption is an average of 8.5 liters super per 100 kilometers. Here lies the consumption in the city at 9.4 liters per 100 kilometers, on country roads at 7.4 liters per 100 kilometers, and on the motorway at 9.6 liters per 100 kilometers. If you combine the pure electric drive with a hybrid drive and starts with a fully charged battery, consumes the CX60 eSky Active plug-in on the first 100 kilometers 14 kilowatt hours electricity and 4.7 liters super. Over 56,000 euros is the sticker price for this CX60, and this is really a lot of money for the Mazda. But if you take a closer look, the offer is not that bad, because the standard equipment of the Takumi line is quite lavish. In addition to the complex and powerful drive technology, there are also plenty of convenience details like electric and ventilated seat or all sorts of assistance. Mazda combines most extras available in packages, given their size are cheap but expensive for those who only know a detail from the one package. Example, if you want the inductive mobile phone charging cradle, you have to invest 2,800 euros in the convenience and sound package, because then the 230-volt sockets, 360-degree cameras, the Bose sound system and the electric tailgate are included. Lastly, fully equipped, it says the price tag of the test car was even 62,900 euros. The CX60 is an impressive debut for Mazda in the premium SUV market. Its stylish exterior, look and quality feel throughout the cabin mean it should appeal to buyers in this ultra-competitive sector, while its efficient plug-in hybrid powertrain and large practical boot space should fit the bill for family life too. It's a shame that the CX60 doesn't offer the same excellent driving dynamics that we have come to expect from a Mazda model, but it has a solid breadth of ability that enables it to compete with close rivals. The relevance of the diesel-powered versions remains questionable, but the CX60 is keenly prized and deserves consideration.